So the directions are going to say for the first part of your worksheet in this is name the relationship. You have multiple choice. It's complementary, linear pair, vertical, or adjacent. Those were words we wrote down yesterday, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so let's look at this, and I want you to write on your piece of paper what you think it is. And it's only one of those four. What do we think? Okay, it's vertical. Okay, number 2. What do we think? Okay. It is adjacent, not a linear pair. And I'm going to show you the difference between adjacent and linear real quick. Okay. Is this adjacent? They are adjacent, aren't they?
Yeah.
But a linear pair are adjacent angles that are supplementary. And this is how I can tell it's supplementary. This is a straight angle, isn't it? A straight angle equals 180 degrees. So A plus B would equal 180. So this is going to be our linear pair. Okay, that's the difference between adjacent and linear pair. Okay, and this one, what do you think it's going to be? Does anybody remember what this box right here is?
It's a right angle.
So right angle is going to be complementary, right? There we go. Oh, do what? Don't move on that. Okay. I will not move on that. Okay, that's, we're going to go basically to the max level of this in just a second here. Okay, it can get a little harder. What do we think this is going to be?
Can it be multiple? Or can it be more than one?
It is not going to be more than one. It's going to be just one. And if you remember when we went over the definition of perpendicular a long time ago, I made you write a bunch of junk down. This right angle means those two lines are perpendicular, right? That means that this is a right angle, and this is a right angle, and this is a right angle, and this is a right angle. So what would it be?
Complementary.
Okay, it's just a little more complicated, right? Let's look at this one real quick. Do I even need this line right here? No, that's just extraneous. What is this?
A linear pair.
Okay. Okay, don't make it hard. Here.
Also a linear pair?
No, these. So take this line out. It's an X, right? So it's just vertical angles. And here we go.
Linear pair. Yeah.
Am I going too fast?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And we can go. I didn't mean to go too fast. Here, let me get the base out of it. Okay. So the most important thing about what we're about to start is vocabulary equals formula. Okay, and so some of these vocabulary is going to equal some kind of formula, and that's what we're going to do next. And we're going to kind of go over those. We wrote those formulas down. Those formulas were theorems or postulates or definitions. We've written them down, but we're going to make sure that we know exactly. And so you might need to make a little note about what to do in certain circumstances. Can I move on? Okay. I'll try to go slower. I just want to give you plenty of time to work. So I apologize. All right, there we go. We're auto-focusing. Super exciting. All right, first thing to do is identify what those two angles are, and then I'll help you with the formula. What are those two angles? They are, how do I know the rule, and we discussed this a little bit ago, that all these angles are going to be 90 degrees. And so the definition of complementary is two angles that add up to be 90 degrees. And that is exactly what the formula is. If they're complementary, I'm going to add the two angles, and they equal 90 degrees. And so we should be able to find out what B is going to equal. And I think when I wrote down complementary the other day, didn't I write angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 90 degrees? Yeah, that's why I wrote it, because that's the formula, right? In this case, it's a definition that gives you the formula. And this next one's going to mess with your mind, and that's why we're doing this rather than me just throwing you a worksheet. I'm not a big fan of how the problem looks, but they didn't ask me when they invented how problems look. If they did, I'd be really, really old, and you should be very scared that someone that old is in the room. All right. We should probably finish it, huh? It's just a one-step equation, right? No big deal. B equals, there we go, 28 degrees. All right, moving on to this one. Okay. Okay, first of all, what this means, you're not used to this, this means that, remember where we have the interior of an angle and the exterior of an angle? This is the exterior of the angle. Okay, and some of the stuff that we do right now, they just assume you know stuff, which I hate that, but they do. You should know if we go around in a circle, we are going around in what? 60 degrees for a whole circle. What is the word that goes with this? And we still only have 4. Complementary, linear pair, vertical angle, or adjacent. It is adjacent. There is no formula for adjacent. All we know is that if we go all the way around, that's 360. And so basically I have 294 plus 40 plus B is going to equal 360. Does that make sense? It'd make more sense if I did this, right? And I guess, where's my purple? We haven't had purple yet, and we have to get all the colors fair exchanged. That way I don't run out of one color. Because I'm running out, because I used them a whole bunch first semester, and I need new ones. And the school doesn't buy them for me, because they're too expensive. They're not that expensive though. They're like $5, but still. So this would be 334 plus B equals 360. Do a little bit of that. And we get B equals just what? 26? And I probably should have put degrees because it is degrees, right? Technically all these things are degrees. Okay. All right, moving on to other kinds. So we're not just doing a whole bunch of these, but I want you to do enough of these that you're comfortable with the vocabulary and the formula that goes with them. Okay, what is the vocabulary for this one? And you got to be careful. Vertical
What's a linear pair?
Vertical would be down here, opposite of the x, right? We know it's a linear pair because they share a vertex and they share a side. Does everybody see that? Okay. They share a vertex, share a side, and then it's a linear pair because this is a straight angle or a straight line. So, the rule for a linear pair, and I believe that was the linear, that was one of our, was that our theorem or our postulate? So we had the linear pair postulate. The linear pair postulate states, for our purposes anyways, that angle 1 plus angle 2 are supplementary, and supplementary means okay, and it makes sense, right? If the angle addition postulate, which we did do, basically if we add those two angles, it's going to equal this straight angle, this whole straight angle, which is 180. Okay, and so it's just this. Yes? Okay, definitely check my math because we're recording. And so this, I might leave this recording up for the next 20 years. So let's make sure it's right. Because I hopefully get enough of these recorded so all the future students can have videos when they miss a day. Which would be nice. Okay, this is convoluted, confusing, but all that really matters is we need to figure out which lines, where's my X? Okay, a little coloring there. I'm going to turn it to sideways so I can color better. Okay, that's the only lines I need. So from here to here, what is that going to be? That is our vertical angle. The rule for vertical angles, it's the vertical angle theorem. So the vertical angle theorem states that vertical angles are congruent or equal. What is it? Something like that, right? So this is how you set this up. 50 equals B. Or B equals 50 degrees, right? Is there any work? They are congruent. So just remember, vertical angles are congruent or equal. Linear pair, they add up to 180. We're going to do a lot of this chapter. We're going to have a bunch of vocabulary, and it's either going to add up to 180 or it's going to be equal or congruent. Okay, and for the purposes of this first worksheet, linear pair, add up to 180. Vertical angles are equal. So we can't leave it at this level. We have to go to the next level. So this is the next level. And we're just going to do one of these. Because if you set it up correctly, it's just Algebra 1, right? And if you set up this correctly, it's not even just Algebra 1. It's the first month of Algebra 1. What is the vocabulary? What is the theorem? It's the vertical angle theorem, which means that this is the setup. And now it's just Algebra 1, right? Okay, so that's basically what we're doing. And if you want to be successful in this next chapter test, focus on vocabulary first. And once you know the vocabulary, use the right formula or rule that goes with that vocabulary, and you'll be right every single time. Okay? That's different from Algebra 1. You never had to focus on a rule or a theorem, did you? You just looked at it and just assumed you're solving for x, right? Okay, so we are solving for x. We just have to set up the problem first. Okay, I'm going to stop this and